What's up, commuters? Welcome back to the UO Commuter. Matt and Natalie talking for the first time about HHN 32. So we had the Last of Us announcement um, back on June 15th. And so that's actually the second announcement because we had Chucky announced last October. So um, one thing to notice about HHN 32 so far, Natalie, is that we've not had a lot of announcements this year.
I know. I felt like last year by this time we pretty much knew what we were dressing up as, why we were going, Dead Man's Wharf and all the scare zones. But this year it's barren.
It's been a lot more spread out. I think this time last year we had Legends Collide, maybe Halloween. I can't remember if we had any other ones or not. So anyway, so this year everything has been pushed way back. The HHN community has been talking a lot about, why that is. No real good reason, I don't think. So we get The Last of Us now, and I think that's kind of revved up the excitement, and it's kind of got everybody enjoying the announcement season. I guess has kicked into full swing.
Swing?
Yeah,
Okay.
couldn't think of what the word was. So we're in full swing now. So we're definitely in full blown
Thought you were trying to make a
speculation
joke.
speculation season. All right, so the video that announced The Last of Us kind of looked like last year's announcements when we had the skeptic, the lady, whenever Halloween was announced. It came up on the screen who they were, the selfie queen. And so when those were announced last year, those videos had a certain look to them. And so this latest announcement with The Last of Us has that similar look. She's playing a video game, The Last of Us, and she's FaceTiming her friends. And so they're all kind of talking, and she's sitting there in her house. The lights go dim, and then you hear the clicker in the background. And so it had a very similar feel to that. So it sounds like we're going to get another group of videos. Like now, we're probably going to see each version of the FaceTime going into how all these things are going to tie together. So again, we have "Never Go Alone" as one of the taglines, but the font looks different, kind of go with this whole legend thing that they've got going on right now. So what do you think is going to happen now as far as the next announcement? Do you think it's going to go to one of the people on the FaceTime? Uh, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I was gonna ask last year what houses got videos.
We had Legends Collide, Halloween, Weekend After Hours, the Dual House for Blumhouse last year with Black Phone, and what was the other house that was in that? It was Black Phone and
Um, Freaky?
Freaky, yeah.
Yeah.
So those were the IPs, the big houses had that video.
Yeah.
The originals did not. So
Well,
I
that's what I was
assume,
gonna say. Whatever the next video is, if they keep with the theme of the bigger houses or the more, I guess, branded houses with the weekend and stuff like that, if they keep on with that theme, whatever the next video is, whether it's around friends or the girl from the FaceTime, I think it's gonna be interesting to see what other big house is gonna be announced with that. Like there are rumors of Stranger Things and things like that. So
so we're definitely thinking that it's going to keep up with the IPs. Obviously, the IPs always get their own big individual video, and then after all the IPs are announced, we'll get a one big post
So
release of the
IP
originals.
IP is independent project, or what does that stand for? Just for continuity.
Intellectual property.
Okay, so like the branded houses I was
Yeah, the
mentioning,
big
just
ones.
making sure.
And we'll talk about what we think those next announcements might be, make some predictions. As of this recording, The Last of Us and Chucky are the only ones that have been announced. Thinking tomorrow, June 27th, it's a Tuesday, thinking there's going to be another announcement tomorrow, this week for sure, I think. But we'll talk about that again. So, again, June 15th, we had The Last of Us announced. And so, what's important about that is it's based around the video game. Now,
Not the show.
yeah, so a lot of people are indifferent. I know some of us, like one present here, is disappointed that Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I know you're very upset about that. I was like, calm down. It's just one guy. You were so upset. No, so it takes place during chapter 5. We've never played the game, but I mean, from what I've seen, the show is very similar to the first season of the game. So I don't think there's going to be much of a issue there, I guess, as far as being aware of what different things are or mean.
Yeah, I think the main thing that is important to note as far as the Last of Us game versus the TV show is the freedom for them to be able to kind of do what they want with it being a video game. If it was the show, it would have to be a lot of things. They'd have to get the rights to Pedro
Right.
Pascal's likeness and all
Right, because he would be in there holding my hands and protecting me.
and so they have to get the rights to those things. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Because the game is what the show is based off of.
Oh, really? Wait. Wait a second. What?
This is news. So what so far what I've heard through the different outlets is that the Last of Us house is going to be based around, like you said, chapter 5, the Pittsburgh chapter. And so if you watch the show or played the game, you're thinking about how they are going into the city, they get attacked by the hunters, and it causes them to wreck into the building. I think they take Ellie there at the beginning, and then they end up going through a hotel and getting through the city. And so that's the way that I've understood it, is that they have to get through them. Now you see some of the stalkers and bloaters in that. Now there are different versions of the infected, and supposedly the way that I've read it online is that there's 4 phases, I believe, to these things. So everybody's kind of been speculating, what are we going to see in the house? What kind of infected are we going to see in the house? I think we're going to see all of them.
I hope we see, and I've never played the game, but I've heard of one of the variants. And if you play the game and you're listening to this, but there's one called the Rat King, and
Yeah.
horrifying, but I really hope I see him. So he better be in that house.
I think that's a step up from the bloaters, which I think is one of the
Yeah.
last phases, the 4th phase, their biggest phase. It takes the longest for them to become that. Before that is the clickers, I believe, is right before that. They've lost their vision. They're clicking because they have to navigate through, I guess you could say, radar, through sound.
Echolocation, sort of.
Yeah, so they're trying to navigate around because they've lost all vision. And so they're clicking to kind of know where they are, where others are. Obviously, the clickers have to be in this house. I think that's going to be a creepy sound. You're in a dark
Yeah.
hallway and you just hear it right beside your head. That'd be scary.
So the phases go stalker, runners, clickers, and then, or no. Yeah, no, clickers and bloaters, right?
I think the runners are
Clickers are the
first,
third. Runners, stalkers.
because I think they're the ones that look the most like a zombie. Like,
If you're a big fan of this game, listening to this, just close your ears, ignore this. This is embarrassing. But yeah, no, I think they're all equally horrifying. Clickers especially.
so I think definitely they're all going to be in there. No one really has the information as far as um, what part of this Pittsburgh chapter. Obviously, the Hotel Grand has to make an appearance in there. That's in the show and in the game, I believe. That's when they go into that big space with water up to their chest, I think, and they're trying to navigate through that. From what I'm understanding, and I believe, if I remember correctly, it was in the show, a lot of action in the basement, a lot of creepy parts in the basement. So, assumedly, that's going to be in there. A lot of speculation on what's the facade going to look like, if it's only going to be about Pittsburgh. I think the facade is going to be them as us when we're walking into this house. You're going to walk into the soundstage and see like the ruins of
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, and then it's going to be, and then that's going to be the facade, and then it's like a wall where we were in a safe zone. Talking about where it might be, prior to this, there's been 2 other video game houses. Silent Hill, it was called Welcome to Silent Hill. That was back at HHN 22. That was in 2012 in Soundstage 22. So thinking last year, that's where Spirits of the Coven, that's where that was. And then that soundstage actually hadn't been used since Ghostbusters back in
So that's sort of
2019.
close to the front of the park.
Yeah, right at the front. And then Resident Evil Escape from Raccoon City was the other video game house the year after that at HHN 23 in 2013 in Soundstage 21, which looking at the HHN wiki, it looks like the last house that was in that soundstage was American Horror Story, the second iteration of that. So you have these two video game houses that have been in the soundstage. You're thinking bigger sets. You're thinking a lot longer maze. So that's why I think you're going to see big sets with this. But
Yeah.
if you looked at Spec Map 2.0, Horror Night Nightmares has it in a sprung tent over by, you're thinking where Bugs last year.
The Pumpkin Lord.
Yeah, Descendants of Destruction Puppet Theater. So you're thinking that area. So a little smaller, but I'm thinking if you remember Descendant last year going down into the subway, it had a very, from beginning to end, Last of Us feel. You start out with the people, then you're seeing the creatures at the end. There was a lot of speculation that Last of Us was going to be here last year. And it got all the way up until the very end, the final speculation maps that it went away. If you went through Descendants of Destruction last year, and you'll have to kind of use your imagination for a second. When you go in, it's a subway. I think there's a subway in the Pittsburgh chapter of The Last of Us. There's a subway. You're going into an abandoned subway. You're seeing people that have survived. As you're going through this maze, the people are kind of deformed, and they have like these deformities similar to what the infected have. And the further you go through this maze, if you think about it, when you got to the end, they were these almost cave looking areas, but there was these monsters that had no face, that looked severely deformed, and which you could say is a clicker or not a bloater. They weren't that big, but so if you catch my drift here, as you went through that house, it's almost like it was set up to be The Last of Us. And then right at the last second when it changed, they made some tweaks and just called it Descendants of Destruction. So
yeah, that's interesting because they would have to have the rights to do The Last of Us. So if they had it all the way up to a point and then they went back on it, then they would have had to get the rights for different things.
and
for
so
nothing, essentially.
yeah, so that kind of sets us up. Well, I think the reason why that was Last of Us was supposed to come out on HBO Max or just Max, whatever you want to call it, was supposed to come out last year and it got pushed back. And so I think that's what happened as far as that goes. So we've had, I think, a version of this house. Someone else, I think, has mentioned Seeds of Extinction, I believe, was a house at HHN in previous years. So that had some Last of Us feel. So we've kind of had these houses before, and now I think they could be. This house could definitely be big. I think it's going to be a soundstage, though. That's my prediction. I think it's going to be in a soundstage up towards the front, and I think it's going to be a big house. Maybe to say that there's a scare zone connected to it.
That would be cool.
I don't know.
If they continue the facade on into the streets.
Imagine what it's going to smell like in there. Like it's abandoned, musky.
I think it won't smell good. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Like that, think about mold smell almost like
maybe. I think they should do some research into like sort of what the cologne Pepe Pascal wears. I don't know. I'm not on the team, but I'm just throwing it out there.
So thinking about how this was announced again, talked about the video and how it's a person talking to friends on FaceTime. One thing that they mentioned in there that has kind of carried over from the little teases that we've had from Halloween Horror Nights Twitter page is this legend.
Why are you so obsessed with this universal legend?
You'd think I'd be used to them by now.
Thanks for paying attention, Jordy.
Sorry. All right, just skip to exactly 32 seconds in the video and
Jeez, another conspiracy theory? There's no hidden stuff in the park.
Hey, are you guys seeing this?
The legend is real. They mentioned in this video. We saw the YouTube video drop where the chick is doing a podcast and then it's static. And there's these different images and different signs on there. And they figure out that it says the legend is real. And so everyone's starting to speculate that this whole thing is what the event's going to revolve around. And the name that's been attached to it the most is Dr. Oddfellow, which is from HHN 10. And he was the guy that ran the circus that Jack Schmidt worked for. He was the one that was running the Carnival of Thrills, and Jack became who he is today because of that whole thing.
Man, you hate to see it happen.
So Dr. Oddfellow is
Poor
rumored
guy.
to maybe be the next icon that comes around. There was an image running around on social media a few days ago, last week maybe, that had the Oddfellow name attached to it. That was on the image there, and then it's vanished. So that could have a little bit of weight. There's just a lot of speculation, and I'm sure that now there's going to be a lot more speculation maps, and this thing's about to get ratcheted up.
Yeah. I'm curious to see, like, you mentioned scare zones, but I mean, I haven't seen any predictions from speculation maps or anything like that. Have there been a lot of scare zone predictions,
We had, I
things
think,
like that?
The Last of Us having a scare zone connected to the house, I believe, has been kind of
The
kicked around.
biggest.
Yeah, and then someone on social has mentioned I've seen, and I can't remember who exactly it was to obviously give them credit, but Vamp 55, which was vampires several years back, they had their own scare zone, and I believe there was another iteration of that Vamp 85, and so now there's rumors of another
Oh,
vampire
yeah.
scare zone. So there's a few rumors out there, but the scare zones obviously don't get the hype. I think there was on the latest spec map there was a holiday um, scare zone rumored as far as like all the different
Oh my
holidays.
gosh, the Flag Day guy is gonna be terrifying.
Thanksgiving, the turkey seeks
Boxing
revenge.
Day.
So there's a lot there. The speculation map 2.0 got very cryptic. Just glancing at it right now, they went with old school. They went with these logos instead of titles, and so it's a lot harder to understand, I guess, and break down. So we'll go into the next part here, talking about what we think is next, the next announcements, the next predictions. I definitely think there's going to be a combo house this year, just like there was last year with Freaky and Black Phone. That's going to be, I think that's a lock. I, I thought that house was solid last year. Black Phone, I think, was the better part of that. There's been rumors kicked around that it's going to be Megan and Insidious. The latest Insidious movie is called The Red Door. So I think that's coming. I think that's a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess they're both equally popular, sort of like they play off of each other, sort of like how Freaky and Black Phone
I
play
think
off of each other a
Megan
little
was
bit.
so speculated initially because Chucky had been announced. So I don't know if
Mm,
that's going to stick, but I definitely
yeah.
think that because another rumor is Five Nights at Freddy's, but I think I'd have to look it up to be sure. So don't quote me on it, but I think HHN starts before that movie comes
Yeah,
out.
listen, I know about Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, it comes out in like mid-October, I think.
And so I think Dracula Untold is one of the only houses that has come out before the event. I'm sorry,
Mm.
the event started before the movie came out. So I don't see that happening. So definitely think there's going to be a combo house, assumedly where Fast and the Furious is.
Mm.
Another for sure. This is a lock. Is it the next announcement? I'm gonna. I'm going to say it's the next announcement. I think the next announcement that we get is Universal Monsters. On Spec Map 2.0, it was Universal Monsters Paris. So that kind of brings in, obviously, the Hunchback. A lot of folks are thinking they're going to double up this house, similar to what they have done in the past. Last year was Collide.
Yeah, but I wonder how they're going to do the storyline, because last year in Collide it was it the mummy that was trying to, or the wolf man?
The Wolfman was trying to get the
He was trying to
amulet,
get the amulet.
but he was sent there by Dracula, who was also trying to get the amulet.
Yeah, there was like a storyline that went with
Yeah.
it. So I wonder how they're going to build up a storyline if they do the Hunchback and the Phantom, or maybe just the Hunchback. So I wonder what will be connected to that, sort of the lore that goes along with it.
If you go back, they had the Universal Monsters house a few years ago. That was all the monsters, and it was like a greatest hits. It was just a scene from each movie, maybe not exact, but loosely based at the very least, to just highlight each monster. And so then, since then, we had I think Hollywood. I don't think Orlando had Frankenstein meets Wolfman. For sure in Orlando we had Bride of Frankenstein Lives. That was our first year going. So they started then branching off of that main house. And then last year, obviously, Legends Collide. So it kind of leaves you with Hunchback, Phantom of the Opera. The one that everybody wants is Gilman from Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah. I don't think Hunchback or Phantom carry the house by themselves.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I haven't read the original Hunchback, but I've seen the Disney movie, and he's not really a villain, is he? Like, that's my biggest thing. I guess he's scary because he's deformed. That's so mean.
I've never seen the original, but I think it was supposed to be just creepy. I don't know that he's necessarily put on the Mount Rushmore of Universal monsters, but he is of that era, I guess. Same with Phantom. They are of that era.
Yeah, and the Phantom of the Opera, I don't think he's a bad guy either.
So I think Universal Monsters is the next announcement, and I think it'll have something to do with those two. What it could have to do with, I don't know. The next thing, we now move way out into speculation realm. The combo house with Blumhouse and Megan Insidious has been a conversation for a while. Strong. Universal Monsters, I think, is a lock. But when we get out to the predictions and the rumors, I think the other house, because so we've got Chucky, we have Last of Us, that's 2 IPs. Universal Monsters, I think, would be 3 IP. The combo house would be 4 IP. So thinking that we're going to have 5 IP and 5 originals, I think the far reach prediction rumor is either Stranger Things or Evil Dead Rise. Now, Stranger Things was big at the beginning, rumor, then it fizzled out, no way. And now here in the last couple of weeks, there's been a pretty strong consensus that it might happen.
Which, how many times have they done a Stranger Things house? I know they did it in 2019, right?
They've done 2 other ones. They did Stranger Things season 1 and 2, I think, the first time, and then they did, or at least Stranger Things season 1, and then they did Stranger Things season 2 and 3 in the last one. The first one, everybody loved it. The second one, people weren't a big fan of. So they got a little bit of redemption to do, assuming that this is going to be around season 4. With the last season coming out next year. It'd be a good bridge because we had that awesome season last year. No Stranger Things this year, so let's do a house. Stranger Things 5 next year. Now, the only reason why I'm throwing Evil Dead Rise in this is because
there was supposed to be.
It was a house until, like, I can't remember what the ridiculous.
Wasn't it like, it was like a few weeks?
Like
it?
weeks.
Yeah, it was a few weeks.
And so they had this house.
And they changed it. Oh, sorry.
Changed it. Gone. Yeah. And so, like, if you were in Orlando, Hell Block Horror was this house. I mean, it was never confirmed by UO. They never came out and said that for sure. But it's pretty clear that.
Was it supposed to be based on the original Evil Dead movie too?
No, it was based on the movie that just came out.
Okay.
Yeah, Evil Dead Rise. And if you go through and if you go back, there's plenty of walkthroughs on YouTube, and I've done this since then. Is if you look at the movie, which takes place in this apartment complex, and you watch the video of Hell Block Horror, you can kind of see that
How it was supposed to be.
it was a hotel that they muddied
Mhm.
up to look like a prison.
Huh.
If you look at the Hollywood one, it lines up better than the Orlando version. So far, so that in Evil Dead Rise, I've not seen the movie, but I've seen the trailer. In Evil Dead Rise, she creepily, her hands come up over the bathtub, and then she raises up out of the bathtub. In Hollywood, in their horror hotel, there's a scene where there's this creepy looking thing in a bathtub. Obviously, it doesn't look like the lady from Evil Dead Rise. They had to change it, but it's too exact. Like
Right.
it's too similar.
So then, if they were able to change it in a few weeks, and they had presumably the IP, then maybe what was it? The one that you thought might have been The Last of Us. Maybe that
Oh,
was
yeah.
supposed to be The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And it got changed.
Descendants of Destruction.
So, I
So-
mean, if they're able to change it that fast.
But I've not heard Evil Dead Rise again. I've heard that there's a little bit of a sour taste there as far as how close it was to happening last year.
Right.
Now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking maybe no Evil Dead Rise. I don't know.
I don't know. We need to. Have you watched it yet? The new one? We're behind. We're behind on our HHN lore.
I think it just hit HBO Max, whatever. So we might have
We're
to.
gonna be on that. Don't worry. Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, if people have gone back and forth over Stranger Things too, as well, not season 2, but I don't know what's more likely, honestly. I feel like they're both pretty unlikely. I mean, they would both be very interesting based on the different aesthetics that they both bring to the table and things like that, but I don't know, I'm interested to see what's gonna happen.
Spec Map 2.0 had The Exorcist on there. I don't think The Exorcist is coming. Demon Slayer was on there. I don't think Demon Slayer's coming. There is a tent, like a circus-looking tent. I think that's where Oddfellow comes into play. One thing that's kicked
That
up
would be
here
neat.
lately is a dragon challenge, rumored house,
How do you train your dragon house?
where yeah,
Just kidding.
where Hagrid's is now used to be a roller coaster. If you're an HHN fan, then you're a Universal fan, so you know this. That there was a Dueling Dragons roller coaster. Pyrock and Blizzrock, I believe, were the names of the dragons. And so on Spec Map 2.0, there was a dragon with a castle.
That would be neat. Because have they had a Harry Potter house before?
No.
That would be interesting. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that would be really interesting.
Some people have asked for that.
Like a Dementor's
Yeah, I think
thing. That would be cool. I would enjoy it. I would enjoy all of these. I don't know why I'm being selective, but
Spec Map 1.0 had a guitar with a lightning bolt on it. That's vanished.
hey, David Bowie house next.
I don't know that I've heard anybody say David Bowie. A lot of folks wondering if a music house will come back. I thought The Weeknd was really good last year.
Yeah, I did too.
Where Blumhouse was last year, it says Top Secret on it. I think that's where they would go right back to.
They should do another. What was his name? The detective, Boris.
Oh yeah, Schuster. Yeah,
Schuster. They should do another Boris Schuster house. I really like that one. That could be maybe a combo house. I don't know what they.
I'm kind of hoping that he's tied into this whole legend is real thing.
I hope they do. They need to do. Listen, if Universal was smart about him, how much people enjoyed that house and have in the past enjoyed the houses relating to him, they need to do a spin-off show, like sort of how Disney did that mini series on what was it, like a werewolf or whatever.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was like
Werewolf
a
by
mini movie,
Night.
I think, right? They need to do something like that with Boris Schuster, though. I think that would be really good.
I think they could get away with that with all of their original houses.
Yeah. I would be interested to see. Well, they did the podcasts last year, but like a Bugs mini-series or even just an HHN series with each house being an episode. That would be good. Hey, we said it first, so if they take this idea, we better get some of the proceeds.
Knock on their door.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I'm going to say that Universal Monsters is the next.
Yeah, I think that's all but confirmed, I think.
And then I think it'll be the combo house and then they'll save the home run hitter for the end.
I think there's going to be an Oddfellow house too, or maybe he's going to be in with one of these.
Yeah, I think he
other ones,
definitely
I
has
think
to
for
have
sure.
his own house. As one of the originals, the Dragon House would be an original, and then the other three originals would.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
trying to think. Has there been anything else that's been like on the rise of popularity as much as Stranger Things or Evil Dead that could be a contender?
a lot of people were wanting Wednesday to be in it, but I just
Right.
don't think it carries an HHN
That's not really a
house.
scary show from what I've seen.
I don't
I'm
think.
trying to think of what else they could even do. Obviously, nothing Disney.
No, I
Indiana
don't.
Jones house? I'm trying to think of what else is coming out or has come out.
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure
don't know.
what else could. I think
Because
with
it'd be really crazy if they announce it and it's like something no one expected. But I don't know.
the more I think about what happened with Evil Dead Rise at the end of, like right there, right before the event started, I think I'm going to take Evil Dead Rise off my speculation. I think I'm going to go.
You're going in on Stranger Things?
I think I'm going to go in on Stranger Things here.
I don't know that I want to do that. Well, then if I say that, it's going to end up being Stranger Things. I'm trying to think of what else. I got to be out of pocket. Or I don't even know. Scary movies. Oh, maybe like a Smile House. I don't know, something like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Smile.
That could be interesting.
That could be instead of if they don't do the combo Blumhouse, Megan Insidious, and maybe Smile. I
should
can't
do
remember
Insidious and Smile. That would be interesting.
I can't think of what studio. I know Studio plays a lot into.
Oh right.
Into
It should be like an A24 house. That would be interesting.
Yeah, they've had a
movies
couple.
too.
Fear Street was rumored at the beginning of
Oh, that would
last
be
year.
good.
Those trilogies.
Yeah, that's right.
The people that made Hill House, they went on to make
Right.
Bly Manor. I don't think that season got as much, and that's a couple years out now. So I think that's
Yeah.
definitely out. Midnight Mass was creepy, but that's also a couple years out now. I don't know. I'm
I don't
thinking
know.
Stranger Things, and I'm thinking Last of Us. My goodness, if they have those two
Those
big
two are,
IPs,
yeah.
it's going to be packed.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of what I'm gonna dress up as. I'm gonna get a Pedro Pascal shirt. Keep me safe. No, I don't know. I mean, a Nope house would be crazy, but I don't know if they'd be.
I think that would have been really cool. I think it's
But
also maybe too far out. I don't know.
I
Nothing.
don't know. Well, I think Nope was so good, but I don't know how you can replicate that into a house. It's like most of the
too
scenes
big.
are outside. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too big. I don't know. Well, that's our first video for HHN talking about The Last of Us there. And then, like I said, I think that there'll be an announcement this week. Again, as of recording, Chucky and Last of Us are the only ones, but I'm thinking tomorrow, June 27th, or one day this week, the week of June 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th. Yeah, I think that it's going to be one day this week. I think every couple weeks, I think I've heard somebody else maybe say that. I think now going into the event, because my goodness,
Yeah,
this
how
week
far
is
out are we?
this week is July, so you've got like 8 weeks left. So
Yeah,
I definitely
we
think,
get to it.
yeah, I think definitely like 8. So I think like every other week we're going to get.
So do you think they're going to announce like what, 3 more houses and then just show us the map, or how many do you think? 3 more?
Yeah, I think 3 more. I think we'll have 5 IPs and then 5 originals.
Original houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have one this week, wait a couple weeks, another one. So by the end of July, I think we'll have all the IPs. So the end of July, 1st of August, I think we'll have all our information. We'll know everything.
We'll know everything. Yeah, and we're going to be correct on all of our predictions. So I think it was a shock to you all, but, you know, we'll pretend to be shocked.
Guys, thanks for tuning in to UO Commuter. Follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. UO Commuter is the handle on all of those. Also, be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. Matt, she's Natalie, and we'll probably be doing this again soon, actually, if we get another announcement. So maybe we'll see you again soon.
All right. Bye. Until next time.
Step into the world of The Last of Us. Only at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights.